You don't need anything else besides this element as the foundation to what you're trying to trade, and you can make all the money you'd ever want. I'm going to say that again in case you missed it. You're trying to find right now, you want the daily bias and you want to be able to buy below the open and hold for the whole entire day. But are you really doing those things when you try to trade? No. As soon as you get 10 handles or 10 pips or whatever, you start struggling with holding on to the trade. You're paranoid that that winning trade that you just found out just fell into your lap. Oh my goodness, I'm winning. This is something new. I need to secure this. But then you're thinking, oh wait a minute, I'm supposed to be holding for the daily range. And now you're wrestling. And that becomes a real hard wrestling match, doesn't it? It makes you feel nauseous. And if anybody tries to talk to you, even if they love you, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your child, your dog comes over and nuzzles up next to you, any other time you're like, oh, this time, get away from me! Can't you see I'm trying to worry about this 10 pip handle move? The weight of the world is on my shoulders right now, and you're coming at me with this? You know what it means. You're stressing out. Why? Why would you have that response? Folks listening to headphones are like, oh man, this guy. You're awake now, aren't you? But that's the reality. That's what it's like. And you'll feel it if you've never been there. You'll feel it. But the reason why you feel that is because you don't know what you're doing. You haven't done this part long enough where you're completely desensitized to, okay, I'm doing this exercise to get comfortable with anticipating price moves. I'm getting comfortable with not knowing what it's going to do next candle, this candle, 5 candles from now, but I think it's going to draw to specific price levels. Where would you feel confident? This is the part that a lot of my students skip over. They don't do any work with this part of it. They ignore it. They assume that it has no bearing on them. It doesn't have any basis or placement in them, okay? Because they want some kind of gimmicky little 1, 2, 3, get me in the trade. Where's my stop supposed to be? I only want a one handle stop loss like ICT. I want to be able to do everything perfect right from step 1. I don't want to have any adversities. That's not realistic because you're going to have a whole lot of adversities, and you have to invite that, be comfortable with it, because that's where it's going to highlight your shortcomings and your understanding, and it's going to also teach you how to overcome it. Because once you identify what you're having an issue with, wouldn't you want to know what your problems are in your relationship? Like if you were married to a new spouse and you genuinely love them, but they haven't been forthright in telling you what your character flaws are that really get under their skin, because they don't want to offend you, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But wouldn't you want them, sincerely, wouldn't you want them to tell you in a way that doesn't hurt you, that doesn't jar you or make you feel offended that you want to go run to the bar and cheat on them? You would love for them to say, hey, I love you. I sincerely care about you. I want us to be together. And that romance is what you want with the marketplace. You want the market to open its arms and invite you into an embrace and feel its bosom against yours. And that tenderness and that love and that acceptance that I've always been waiting for you and you're finally with me and I'm never going to let you go, honey. I'm never going to let you go. See, that's what you want. You want that romance. But really what this is a dysfunctional element of family. And what it does is it says, listen, my husband's away. Come on over. The bed's open. And you want to go over there and romp around, okay, and find a spouse out of that type of thing. And you wonder why you end up with an STD or a broken home. That's the way it works. But see, you think it's a love story. It's a romance. It's not. It's a toxic relationship. And one person in this relationship has to be able to be reasonable. And at some point, the person that's reasonable has to say, you know what? This isn't healthy for me anymore. So that means I have to turn the charts off. I need to stop following this market on this time frame right now because it's not healthy. But you can't arrive at that until you do rule-based ideas and you break things down modularly. Go with Top Step and then eventually pass this combine and eventually get payouts. You'll see that the logic works not just in my hands and not just in other people's hands, but as a dad, I want to see him doing it in his own hands and then have the rewards of being able to do it and repeating it. Doesn't need to happen every single day, Caleb, but overall, if you have a net positive month, because in the beginning, you're not going to have a net positive every single week, because there's going to be a lot of this that you're going to have hands off. Dad, he's got to do it and learn from it and trust that he's making the right decisions. And when he doesn't make the right decisions, you have to feel that effect and then work through that progress of, it didn't work in my hands. I did something wrong. Not this stuff doesn't work, that you did it wrong. And therefore, you have to grind through that. And that's all of you are going to be the same way with this. I mean, you're all going to have those hit and miss. You're going to have days where it just works like a hot knife through butter, just cuts through easily, goes right to where you want it to go right away, and you're done. You can go do whatever you want to do. Other days, you're going to have to really work for it. And I have learned over 30 plus years, the days that you really have to work for it, it's better for you to get out of the trade that you're in, if you're having a whole lot of mental capital spent on the outcome of the trade and you're just worrying about it being right in your favor, it's actually a better exercise for you to develop discipline just to close the trade, turn the charts off, and go do something else. Because what you're doing is you're burning mental capital. You're worrying and stressing. And what you're doing also is you're triggering all of these stress hormones in your body. And I wore myself down as a young man doing that. If you spend every single day of the week, and for some of you, many hours each day, obsessing and worrying about what the market's going to do and really not knowing what to do or how to behave when it does certain things and signaling to you that, okay, it's done, be content with it. If you don't adopt those protocols, you're going to stress yourself out. And here's the thing, I have met tons of people that are profitable, but they're absolutely unhealthy and unhappy because they're constantly trying to get more than what they need. I've seen many people go out there and do exceedingly well intraday, and they go in again and they take another trade because it isn't good enough for them. They want to make more. And I'm trying to teach you to have a mindset where if you go out there and you do something once a day and you get the experience from it, if it's positive, wonderful. If it's not positive, now you have an opportunity to study what you didn't do right or what you didn't observe correctly. Those are the two perspectives to hold. Not that, this stuff doesn't work or they did it to you, but you'll get to this point where you know exactly what you're doing, when you're going to do it, and when you don't want to do it. And you're not going to have any regret when you do or don't, because you're content. Being content as a trader is such an elusive thing. And you think making lots of money should equate to being content, and it won't. It won't be like that. Lots of money being made doesn't make you content. Lots of money generally is a result of you chasing lots of money. Being content with making plenty and not needing to try to worry about other people's opinion of how well they hold an opinion of you, Caleb, is the wrong direction. There's lots of people out there that can't wait to see you be ICT 2.0. I'm looking for you to do the things I wish I could go back in time and not have done. And I wish I could change about me. I want to have that kind of impact on you in your development. I want you to be humble. When you make a lot of money, call no attention to it. Call no attention to it, because other people in their learning, they're going to be inspired by that, but there's a whole lot of other individuals that are going to see you and they're going to hate you because they're not going to learn it as fast as you might learn it. Or if you take longer, because it could happen, if you struggle a little bit longer than both of us think it's going to take for you to do this, that's going to be a reassurance to some of them, and they're going to be like, I'm glad that he didn't go right into this. I want you initially to say where you thought it was going to happen and it happened, and I want you to share how it felt, and then we're going to move away from that happy, good, feel good, warm, fuzzy stuff, because that needs to be outside of your trading. The deep anxiety and fear and worry, that can't be part of it, and the elation of just being high and you can't do anything wrong. You got to keep that out of it too. But in the beginning, you want that more than anything, because that means it's successful. That means that you're doing everything right. And I'm telling you, it's normal for you to feel that, but you can't have that as a steady diet, because it will constantly be the goal. And that's not the goal. The goal is to be indifferent. When you can get up and say, I know I can go out there and find the next move. I know I can participate in it, but I don't have to. But I'm choosing to sit down in front of price because this is what I anticipate it doing, because this is what my back testing, my journaling, my dad's taught me, and it works like Swiss timepiece precision. Okay, this is how you can get there, but it isn't going to be fast. It isn't going to be easy in the beginning. But once you understand these rules, once you understand what it is that you're trying to replicate every time you do this, you're going to see it's the same stuff. And some days you'll think you see it a certain way and it won't pan out that way. And the outcome will be adverse. It won't be a good thing. But it doesn't mean it changes anything. It doesn't mean it no longer works or you're not going to be successful. It just means, okay, stop. If you have one bad result and you're limited to only one exposure to the outcome, good or bad, for that day, and you stop, you can't be mad. You never are going to have an anxiety attack. You're never going to be panicked about getting it back right away, because this is the normal procedure. If I take a losing trade, I have to stop. That prevents you from going into tilt. That prevents you from getting greedy. It prevents you from being fearful of not knowing what to do because you feel like you got to get it back, and you try it again, you lost again. Now you made a little loss, now bigger. You'll never want to overtrade. You'll never need to over leverage. It becomes your job. When you go to work, you're not trying to do more than what your supervisor is asking you to do. Nobody does. Nobody works like that. And your trading needs to be the same way. You need to simply just look at it and say, well, this is what I expect the market's going to do, and I see this potentially being there as a setup. And if I take it and I lose, okay, no problem. I'm going to turn the computer off. I'm not going to give myself any toxic fuel to just worry myself into anxiety or grief about it. And I'll try it again tomorrow. I'll log it tonight when the market's done, and it's over. It's it. It's painless. It's literally painless. That's a systematic approach of controlling fear and greed. But I have a lot of students that hear me say that, and they know that that would work, and that would have worked for them if they could stick to it. The problem is social media invites it. ICT live streaming now invites more of an interest in doing stuff, and it's hard to say I'm not going to look at the charts or trade anymore, especially if you have a losing trade, because you feel like you got to fix it, and you don't need to fix it. You need to feel what it feels like to go home with it, and then over a course of a month, and see how that 1 or 2 or maybe 5 losing trades over the course of a month has absolutely no real effect on what you're doing and the direction you're going. Whether you want to admit it or not, when you're first starting, the majority of your time is going to be spent in uncertainty, in times of confusion. It's going to be fearful. It's going to be, well, it's going to feel very anxious. You'll feel anxious. You may even start feeling body symptoms of tingliness, lightheadedness, feel like you're going to get sick, and you may still only be in a demo, because what you're doing is you're elevating the outcome to a level that is not expected. You don't need to put that much pressure on you. In fact, if that's how you're thinking, it's normal for you to feel that way when you first start trading with a real account. That's a normal thing, but there's no way around it. There's no way around that first trade with real money. That fear, that anxiety is something you have to engage in. And that's why I say, as soon as you get a live account, first thing you should do is flip a quarter, lowest leverage. If it's tails, you buy it. If it's heads, you sell short, or vice versa. And you do the smallest leverage and put a 15-point stop on it, and just let it happen to you, and break the ice and let it go. But see, a lot of you, if not all of you, you want your first trade to be a winner, because you think it's a jinx. Okay, it's somehow an invitation for failure if your first trade with your real account loses money. Like that somehow defines your entire career. It doesn't. It's just one transaction. But the way you overcome that is spending time without pushing a button, studying where price can go, and that's this. This is always, absolutely, without fail, it's never not going to do it. It's always, every single effing day, it's going to do this very thing. It's going to do it. It's going to absolutely do it, because there is an algorithm, and it does this to spur on emotional interest or tangible orders that are actually sitting out there. Real orders that are sitting above and below or inside of inefficiencies where the market needs to offer fair value to the marketplace. So what is it reaching for? It's reaching for old highs, old lows, and inefficiency.